Hey, how y'all doing today? Thank y'all so much for tuning in with us this afternoon. I am Kenneth.
I'm Jasmine.
And you are now tuned into Walking with the Williams. So we thank y'all so much for tuning in. Throughout these videos that we're going to do, we're always going to be talking about something about relationships, love,
marriage,
parenthood. You all are just going to walk with us as we walk through life. Okay? But today what we wanted to do is that we wanted to help people who may not know about this certain test. And it has helped us a whole lot in our lives with our friends and with our spouse. And so, with our spouses.
with our marriage.
With our marriage, Lord. With our marriage. I don't want people thinking that I got multiple spouses. With our marriage.
Do you believe in polygamy?
I do.
Now, it took you too long to answer that question.
I do.
Keep going.
Okay, here we go. So, but my thing is that...
you believe in polygamy?
It allowed us to be able to learn each other a whole lot.
Another conversation.
Another conversation for another time, okay? Right now we're talking about this test, okay?
Okay.
So a lot of times people like to use horoscopes to try to figure people out, okay? Some people like to use the Myers-Briggs test. We like to use the Enneagram test. Mm-hmm. We believe that the Enneagram test is a great personality test. And it can tell you a whole lot about a person. And so it has helped us a whole lot. So go ahead and tell them what the Enneagram is.
So the Enneagram is basically like a personality test that helps you to identify characteristics and aspects of your personality. And with this specific personality test or personality indicator, there are 9 different types of personalities that you can have. So you range from a 1 to a 9. Then you also can have numbers that are your wings, and then you also can have numbers that you go to in stress and you go to in health. And one reason that we really like the Enneagram is because it does recognize that as humans we really do have all of these numbers. And so although you are a certain number, you don't feel like, oh God, I have to stick to this one number. And then you read another descriptor and you're like, but I'm some of that too. Like on all of the resources, they make it very clear that you could have a little bit of each number.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to discuss what our numbers are, and then we're going to talk about how those show up in our marriage. We think that personality tests, specifically the Enneagram, is super helpful for understanding first yourself, because you cannot get married until you understand yourself first.
Come on.
But then also your spouse and your friends and your work relationships. So our marriage group that we are in, they have really gotten us onto the Enneagram, and we talk about it all the time. So I'm going to start off by telling you my number. I am an Enneagram type 5. I have the Enneagram Institute website up so that I can clearly tell you what a 5 is without putting in my own stuff about what I assume. Because he would make up some stuff, so I had to pull it up on a computer, because y'all know, you might not know him. People who know him, you know he just be making up stories.
My statistics be right.
So, type 5 in brief. 5s are alert, insightful, and curious. They are able to concentrate and focus on developing complex ideas and skills. Independent, innovative, and inventive. They can also become preoccupied with their thoughts and imaginary constructs. They become detached, high-strung, and intense. They typically have problems with isolation. At their very best, they are visionary pioneers, often ahead of their time and able to see the world in an entirely new way. Again, some of this I don't agree with. A lot of it I do. My basic fear, 5's basic fear is being useless, helpless, or incapable. And then my basic desire is to be capable and competent. And I feel like I relate to that a lot. And then the area of growth for a 5, 5s tend to find it difficult to trust people, to open up to them emotionally, or to make themselves accessible in various ways. Also, we tend to be like avoid conflicts with other people. So it's important to remember that having conflicts with others is not unusual, and that the healthy thing is to work them out rather than reject attachments with people by withdrawing into isolation. And it is easy for me to go into isolation. Babe, what's your number?
My number is an Enneagram 7.
And if you know about the Enneagram,
Ooh.
you can guess that about
Let me
it.
tell y'all something. I am every part of an Enneagram 7. Let's go over it real quick.
Okay.
7s are extroverted, optimistic, versatile, and spontaneous. Playful, high-spirited, and practical. They can also misapply their many talents, becoming overextended, scattered, and undisciplined. They constantly seek new and exciting experiences, but can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go. They typically have problems with impatience and impulsiveness. Oh, goodness gracious. At their best, they focus their talents on worthwhile goals, becoming appreciative, joyous, and satisfied. Now, my basic fear is of being deprived and in pain. My basic desire is to be satisfied and content to have the 7's needs fulfilled. One of the things about, as far as with growth, is that I tend to recognize, it says 7s tend to recognize your impulsiveness and get in the habit of observing your impulses rather than giving in to them. This means letting most of your impulses pass and becoming a better judge of which ones are worth acting on. The more you can resist acting out of your impulses, the more you will be able to focus on what is really good for you.
Woo!
Oh.
So good.
Okay. Go ahead. Break it. Go into the next thing.
How does this show up in our marriage?
Oh.
Wait, do you have something you want to say about your number first? He has something he wants to say. I can see it.
What do you mean? Something to say about my number? I love and hate my number at the same time. Because when you think about how it shows up in our marriage, I think that I'm more on the healthy side of a 7 now. But before we got married, I was very impulsive. And that's the reason why I was always broke.
Yes.
Like you used to tell me all the time, like, babe, remember when I bought that EYE phone?
Yes.
And I bought that dang.
Can you just briefly, in like 2 minutes, tell that story? Because woo, Lord.
I ain't even have to take 2 minutes. Let me tell y'all something. So I got my tax money, right?
Yo.
This is when smartphones was popping and everything like that. So I go to this phone place.
What was that, maybe 2009, 2010?
Man, look here. It was 2000 something, early 2000. So I go to this phone place, and I'm like, man, I tell this guy, I'm like, man, like, I'm looking for a new phone, you know. He's like, oh, I got the perfect one for you. It looked just like an Apple iPhone, except it was not an Apple iPhone. That's the reason why we call it an EYE phone, all right? It was one of those made-up phones that you find online or whatever, and the guy was like, $300. So I go back to Jasmine, and I'm like, man, look at this phone. You know, Jasmine like, you don't need to buy that phone, but if you want to, you can. And I'm just like, psh, I'm going to be the next thing popping on the block. I go ahead, buy the dang on phone. It breaks down. I go take it to the phone place to go get it fixed. The man says, I'm going to have to ship the phone. And you won't get it for like 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. I end up giving this man $300 for this phone.
And what did me and my mom tell you?
Y'all told me not to get it.
Okay.
Y'all told me I was being impulsive. But I got it anyway because I didn't believe y'all. Okay? So I get the phone.
Areas of growth. Do not give in to your impulses.
Oh, man. It was
you
so
see
bad.
How accurate it is?
It was so bad, I didn't even go back for the phone. I let him keep the $300 and the phone. I follow my impulses.
Absolutely.
But I think as far as like with marriage, I think it's very important that I think it has been very important that I develop some type of self-control. I believe that like when it said that I'm always going to the next great experience, I think that's a very dangerous place for a 7 when it comes to marriage, because I think that marriage can sometimes get
mundane.
And For a 7, that we don't like that, right? And so it's easy. I can see it being easy for a 7 to say, well, this isn't working. I'm going to go find another experience, right? And so I think that it's very important that I keep that in check and make sure that I'm not just hopping to the next thing, whether it be a job, whether it be stuff, or even developing relationships with people that I'm not supposed to. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's how that shows up as like a 7 in marriage. So what about you?
So me as a 5, like security is really important to me. And then the part about being a 5 about just becoming isolated. And there's more details on any website that you go to about the Enneagram, but 5s tend to keep their emotions to themselves. We take a long time to process. We are typically introverts and internal processors. And so 7s are extroverts. They don't need time to process. It's just like, how am I feeling this? How I'm feeling, blah, I'm gonna blurt it out. Whereas me, if I'm feeling something, it's like, what am I feeling? How do I name this feeling? Okay, is this really what I feel? Okay, let me think about it for 24 hours before I say something, out loud. That's not really how I feel.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but it was talking about how 7s are very impatient. So in our relationship, before we really started doing the Enneagram thing, she needed time to process. I would become very impatient because I'm wanting to figure this out, right? But she needs time to process. And as a 7, I think that if you don't know that, you can become very aggressive and very angry, right? And so, go ahead. You can go back into talking about your feelings and how you process. But I wanted to say that because that was so true about a 7.
And so, with that being said, with being married to a 7. I have to know that I can't keep those emotions in because he wants to know and because of his impatience. So I can't just go 2 weeks feeling a certain way, right? Like I have to know that he's waiting for me to say something. He wants a response soon. And so I think we've done a good job of like kind of meeting in the middle. Like, okay, I know that I can't keep this in. He already knows how I'm feeling something. So once I have had a little bit of time to process it, then I can verbalize what it is that I'm feeling. Also, I don't know if this is a 5 thing, probably is, but I can be very passive aggressive. And so I think that comes in from 5s just wanting that isolation and not wanting to let people in. And so I've really had to like recognize when I'm being passive aggressive and tone it down, or just ask myself like, Jasmine, can you just be like upfront? Another thing, we don't like conflict. So can you just be upfront and not be passive aggressive? Because as a 7, he's straight to the point, very upfront. And so for me to be passive aggressive is also irritating for him. And so knowing your Enneagram.
UFC Fight Night. Hermanson versus the
Our Alexa.
Thank you, Alexa.
It's telling us something. And so knowing your Enneagram number in your marriage or relationship or friendship really helps you.
Stop. Alexa, stop. Stop. Great.
Knowing your Enneagram number really helps you with communication. And communication, how important is that in a relationship?
Man, okay, I'm going to tell you something. I think communication is just as important as just, I don't know. I think that like it's one of those major things that people get divorced over. Along with sex, along with money, along with commitment and things like that. Like communication will break a relationship if you cannot, or break a relationship, a marriage, a friendship. I mean, it can break anything. Like I think communication is big.
And when you really know your Enneagram number and your personality, you can look on any website. I'm actually going to link 2 or 3 links in the description box so you can go and take the free version of the assessment. And then you can get a rundown of what your number is, your wings, where you go in stress, where you go in health. But it really helps you to understand your communication style. Enneagram and therapy. Go to therapy too. Everybody needs to go to therapy. But I feel like as a 5 and just who I am, I have not been a very good communicator, but understanding my personality with the Enneagram helps me to really look inside myself, be introspective. Intra is between. Intro is inside. Enter? I don't know. One of those words. I'll Google it.
Be some perspective.
Look inside of myself.
There you go.
And recognize how I communicate and how my communication style needs to be adjusted if I'm going to have a successful marriage with somebody whose communication style is different than mine.
And I think one of the best things about the Enneagram is that you no longer feel like you no longer blame it on that person. You blame it. You then look at the number, right? So if Jasmine is doing something, I can say, she's being a 5 right now, right? Or if she does something along the lines of where she's being very scatterbrained or anything like that, I know that she's going to a 7 and she's not in a good place.
So with the Enneagram, there's like a web of numbers. We'll put a picture, and you go to a different number when you're in stress and another number when you are in health. And so when I'm stressed, I go to a 7, which is him. So both of us scatterbrained together. Lord help us. And then when I am in a place of health, I go to an 8, and that's when I feel really self-confident, like I can take on anything and nothing is against me. But it's really good that I'm a 5 and he's a 7, because with his impulses and scatterbrain and just playful personality and things like that, as a 5, I level him out, especially me being an introvert and him being me being an introvert, you being an extrovert. So do you feel like being married to a 5 helps you?
Yes. So when it
and being married to a 7 helps me. It helps me get out of that isolation, because I could stay in the house by myself for a long time. So he helps me to get out and talk to people. Yeah,
I think, God has blessed me to be married to a 5, because I think 5s for a 7, like she said, they level us out. And so with my impulses and everything like that, and me wanting to jump to the next thing, I am 7s are very creative, right? So we're very creative. But I think that as a 5, we're more logical, and like security and just knowing the plan is very important for me. Right. So I used to hate when I would bring ideas to Jasmine and she would break those things down. What do you call me? Her and her mama. Then you ain't have to call out my mama. Man, I'm calling out your mama. You and your mama? Hey, Mom. Dream killers. That's what I used to call y'all. Dream killers. Why? Because you would tell them a dream and they will break your stuff down to the point where you were not motivated. But as I started to mature. Oh, okay. Ooh, you see I said that right? Put the pinky up. As I started to. What's your fingers doing? I don't know. I put my pinky up and that finger just won't go down. Okay. So as I started to mature. Scatterbrain. There you go. See? As I started to mature, I was sitting there saying to myself, well, I have all of these goals. And it's not to say that I can't do those things. But Jasmine needs to feel some type of security. And how will she feel that security? She feels that security when I have a plan. And I used to think she was, when she would say certain things, it would attack my insecurities. But what it was that I really didn't have a plan. I just had this idea. So what I do now is that when I come up with an idea, I come up with as many great ideas as I can about something. And then I take those things to her and I say, can you help me plan this out? Versus me doing it without you and then me failing. Not to say that I wouldn't fail if you were involved, but what I'm saying is that you help level me out to a point where I feel safer about my decisions. If I bring a decision to you and you broke it down and you were like, all right, go ahead and pull the trigger. I feel more confident when you tell me to pull the trigger versus in my mind I'm saying, well, I'm not going to ask her. I'm just going to pull the trigger. So. Because I can poke holes in things. Yes. Like he's very important. Big picture. And I'll be like, but where's this going to come from? How is this going to happen? How are you going to get there? Things like that. Yeah. And he used to hate that. But we're learning because we understood. We understand. What's wrong
with me today.
I
We
don't know.
understand each other's
I feel like you're
personality.
breaking down.
I know. I feel like
You need me to update
a-
your battery?
I don't know. I need to get an upgrade or something. You don't need to upgrade me. No, upgrade me, not get an upgrade.
No, I said, do you want me to get you a new battery?
Okay. Because we understand each other's personality with the Enneagram.
I'm trying to upgrade you like Beyonce.
We understand how we can help each other, not just like in marriage, but in our careers and other things that we want to pursue.
So how do you think a 7 me helps you?
So kind of like I said before, he gets me out of that place of isolation. He makes me want to go out and be social. He also, because he can like name his feelings and his emotions, it helps me really want to like communicate how I'm feeling, because I want him to know. Like, as my husband, he should really know. And then also he allows me to like dream big. Like, one of the things that I've just kind of been hearing, maybe the Lord is giving to me, probably it's the Lord, but like, is not to have fear next year and just to take action. And I think without being married to him, I would never say that. I'd be like, no, I'm not taking action. Like, I need a plan. Like, I'm not just gonna jump into this with no plan. But with him, I have become more comfortable with us just being like, let's just try it and see what happens. He's really big on like, if you believe and you have faith, it's gonna happen. And I'm like, but wait, we got to do this, this, and this. And so he's allowing me to just kind of be less high strung and just go with the flow and live life.
Yeah.
He's fun. Yeah. Try to find you a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Run around with no clothes on. Don't know what that means.
So we just wanted to share with you all this Enneagram. If you have not heard about it, please go look it up. Like I said, I'm going to link 2 or 3 links to websites that you can go to and take the Enneagram test for free. And then please, if you would like to, comment in the comment section of this video. Tell us what your number is, and then also tell us if you know, if you're in a relationship, a friendship, whatever, if you know that other person's Enneagram. Tell us how you have seen your Enneagram show up in your relationship and what it has taught you, or how it has caused conflict or helped you. Either way, let us know in the comments so we can have a discussion about Enneagrams. We really, really love the Enneagram, so if you have questions about it, let us know. Like, we could have went way more in depth with our numbers, but
I'm excited to see these comments. I think these comments are going to be crazy, because I think that when you first read the Enneagram, you're like, oh, how does this thing know me so well?
Yeah, you're like,
right?
How does this one number describe me so well?
It's amazing. It's amazing. So I can't wait to see you all's comments down below. Like she said, she's going to put the websites in the description so that you can go ahead and take the test for free. Also, too.
Are you about to say what
you already know? You already know.
Say it.
You already know.
What you about to say? Something they can read?
Come on. You already know.
Go ahead and say it.
You can go ahead and get the book by Ian Cron called The Road Back to You. Each chapter breaks down your number and goes more in depth.
Those chapters so good.
It'll
make you cry.
Oh, man. The Enneagram is so deep. And so I hope that you all enjoyed this episode of Walking with the Williams. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. We thank you all for tuning in. Did you have anything you want to say?
Like you do on YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, share with everybody. If you have a friend that you know is into the Enneagram, go on here and share it with them. You can share it to whoever you want to. We do not care. If you have more questions about how our 5 or our 7 or our numbers of weakness or in strength show up in our marriage, just ask us in the comment section. If you know us, text us, comment, call us, whatever, and we can answer questions or have a conversation about how the Enneagram has shown up in our marriage.
Yeah.
So,
and you can follow us on Instagram. I'm the Kenneth Williams.
and I'm at _that_jazz.
Yeah. So
also in the description box.
We'll put that down in the description box. And I think that we're gonna probably come up with a Walking with the Williams Instagram page probably here soon.
Yep.
Well, again, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.